Quiche is one of the dishes that we get asked for very, very often on our website. We've got a facility where we can go in and check what it is that most people are looking for in our recipe base. Chicken is number 1, and then it's mince, I think, and quiche is number 3 or number 4. So here is the best way in my book to make a quiche. And we've got a beautiful salmon quiche for you this morning. Here's the pastry that I made yesterday. Just left it overnight in the vegetable drawer of the fridge so it doesn't get too cold. And you can see I flattened the pastry into a disc shape. Makes it a bit easier to roll out. Put some flour on the work surface. Nice rolling pin that works properly. And just keep on turning it. And I worked with an old home economics teacher years ago, and she always used to say, keep your pastry loose. So just keep it loose so that it doesn't stick. Now we've rolled the pastry out to more or less the size of the dish, but obviously a little bigger. Don't be distressed if you get a couple of cracks. This is the easiest thing in the world to patch them up. Just roll this over the rolling pin, and I'm using a loose bottom flan tin. Unroll it into the pan, and now you relax the pastry back on itself. That bit where we had the crack, just cement it all together again. Now a really good tip is where you have fairly big overhang, just trim it quite far away from the edge of the pan with a pair of scissors, and those little bits is very, very useful. I'll show you just now what you're going to do with it. Then what you do is you fold the pastry back on itself, so you actually have a double edge. Then take this little ball of pastry that you had over and use that so that your nails don't. Just this is another way to just come, sweetheart. Push it into the side. And if you had any little leaks or anything like that, or little cracks, then you can just paint a bit of egg white over them and glue the pastry together. And once again, you can use a bit of this pastry to patch up anything that's less than perfect. Then you need to prick the base of the pastry so that it doesn't bubble up in the middle, and there will be enough room for your lovely filling. But now the other trick to prevent that bubbling up in the middle of the pastry is to bake the pastry blind. That means you take a piece of greaseproof paper and cut it roughly in a square or triangle, and then fold it into a triangle. Another triangle, another one, and another one. Cut this into a rounded shape and then snip deeply into the top. Now we use this paper to hold the pastry down, and because we've got these frilly edges, it means that you can shape the paper. And you see, that also gives you an opportunity to make sure the pastry is firmly fixed to the sides. Now you need to put some weight in here. You can use little stones, little gravel stones, you can use rice, you can use beans. I've got these little pastry beads that I bought years ago. Somebody who was doing pottery just made these. Quite a nice idea for a present for somebody if you're a potter. And now this gets into the oven. Now remember, pastry needs a high temperature to become crisp. So at 220 degrees, we bake it for 10 minutes, and then we'll take the paper out. And when we bake the filling later on, the filling will be baked only at 170. So it's a gentler baking period for the filling. Well, the pastry has come out of the oven, so we just lift the balls, paper and all, and then we can just put the pastry balls back in a bottle just now. Now you can see that I have 1 or 2 small cracks here. Now it's actually quite important to patch them up before you bake the pastry. I want to say I did this deliberately, but I didn't, but it's a good thing it happened. Because if there's a crack in your pastry, the filling may leach out, because remember you've got a loose bottom pan. So all you do is you paint some egg white. When you make the pastry, you've got some egg white over, or if you've used board pastry, you can simply just use a whole egg beaten up. Paint some egg white over there, and this little bit of pastry that we had over is now ideal for us just to patch up polyfiller and all that. Another waterproof technique is now to take the cheese and to sprinkle the cheese over the base, because the cheese also melts and forms a nice waterproof base at the bottom. Then next to go in, we've used tinned salmon, about 400 gram tinner, and just remove the dark skin. Some of the smaller bones you can certainly leave in because it's very rich in calcium. And then we've taken some leeks and sliced them up nice and finely, and then sauteed them in a nice mixture of butter and oil. So the fish can go into the leeks. There you are. You can just see that these flavors would work together. And just mix it together lightly. Right. And then the eggs, use nice big eggs, extra large is great. And I'm using sour cream. Sour cream goes particularly well with seafood, or with salmon specifically. If you can't get sour cream, you can certainly buy creme fraiche. Same thing, it's just a cultured cream. And then to season it, the lemon pepper seasoning is absolutely ideal. You need 1.5 teaspoons. Beat it together. Can you see another advantage of the sour cream is the fact that we've got a nice thick product here. So even if there's a little bit of leaking, it's not going to be a big train smash. So next we place the fish and the onion on top of the cheese mixture. I couldn't believe the incredible response we had to our Christmas website feature. We had 1.3 million hits in December, with people going in and finding recipe ideas. There we are. Fish is in. You can see we fill it up nice and full. Then topping goes over. Try to distribute it evenly. Now I just want to show you one last little trick, and that is how to take this pastry, how to take it out of that pan when it comes out of the oven. You know, they say that real men don't eat quiche, but believe me, real men will eat this quiche. So when it comes out of the oven and it's boiling hot, you put it down on a mixing bowl turned upside down, and you just drop the ring like that, so you don't have a hot ring around your wrist. And then you pick it up, and then you can slip it off the base onto your serving plate. Bon appetit!